Okay, now Gongchik. We are now starting a chapter on the resultant state of Buddhahood. So as we start this chapter on the resultant state of Buddhahood, one thing to say is, it's my opinion. One thing to say is that I think the statements found in this chapter, in a way, right, probably is the most, generally speaking, probably is the chapter that requires the most effort in trying to kind of understand the relevance of these statements in relation to us. Because we are like so far, from the state of Buddhahood. How can our such a limited capacity, right, try to fathom, even imagine what the resultant state of Buddhahood is? And overall, again, all the other 6 chapters, the things that are mentioned there, generally speaking, maybe easier for us to kind of say, okay, so this statement, the implications of this statement is the implication of this statement is like this or like that, while I'm still on the path. While I'm still starting on the path, I can see, this is how, and this is the implication, this is how, all of that, right? For the resultant, the state, the fruition, the fruit of Buddhahood, what it is like, right? This is a little bit harder, I think. So I say this not to discourage us from this chapter, but in fact, I think I say this so that we understand, like these statements. If you think you get it, oh yeah, I understand, and then you should say to yourself, there's probably a lot more than this. If you think, like, yeah, I don't know, this seems to be just, arguing semantics, arguing definition of words or things like that, then again, you should think, there are things that I simply don't understand, at this level of fruit, of results. So then, having said that, another thing to perhaps keep in mind is, in the end, even here, these statements, they are not exactly, right? They cannot capture, even if they are words from Gyalpa Rinpoche, still they cannot capture what Buddhahood is. At best, what they capture is, in the realm of words, when we have to use words to express, to talk about, to discuss what Buddhahood is, these are the words that Gyalpa Rinpoche used. And therefore, we should pay attention to the expressions that he used. Because the way, the words that he chose to use can help us, if we pay attention to them, to steer us away from misunderstandings that might arise with regards to the result of Buddhahood, based on like other ways of talking about what Buddhahood is. Yeah. So in other words, like working from the basic understanding that all words cannot touch the state of Buddhahood. Because all words arise from dualistic concepts, and all dualistic concepts cannot actually touch what Buddhahood is. Given that, still on the realm of needing to use words, needing to express, some ways of expressing what Buddhahood is tend to be less problematic than other ways. So it is sort of in that spirit we approach the statements found in chapter 7. Okay? At the stage of Buddhahood, there is no distinction between the two truths. And this is said in response to people claim that there are two truths at the stage of Buddhahood. So Buddha taught about the two truths in order to show us what is known as the apparent truth and what is the ultimate truth. What is the surface level apparent truth and what is ultimately true. So, insofar as the teachings are concerned, the teachings that are given for us to use, for us to apply in order to be free from confusion and suffering, often the Buddha makes use of. I think, you could say the Buddha uses, not uses, the Buddha points out to us how what we see, what we hear, what we taste, what we touch, what we feel, as real as they are to us, they do not withstand the scrutiny of analysis, the scrutiny of thinking deeper. In other words, if you scratch the surface a little bit, what's underneath is revealed. So generally, Buddha taught that, that what you see is not what you get. But we become so easily fooled by what we see. We think, oh, that must be it. What we hear, we're like, oh, that must be it. Here, we're not even talking about is that fake news or not? No. This is misapplying the true truths, This is not talking about, is this fake news or not? This is not talking about, is this person reliable or not in telling me what they say they saw or they didn't see? We're not talking about that, okay? Here, when we say what you see is not what you get, it's not teaching you to be paranoid about news. I mean, if you want to be, then, paranoid, careful, whatever, It's not talking about that. Of course, if you want to choose to do that, you can. But don't think, oh, now I'm practicing the Buddha's teachings. Buddha's teaching is saying, what you perceive to be enjoyable, pleasurable, is it so? What you perceive to be stable, unchanging, is that so? What you think and feel and believe so much to be self, to be who I am, is that so? And what you think to be so pure, so good, is that so? That's the discrepancy we're talking about. Not you thought that was your credit card, but it turns out it's not yours. That's not what Buddha is talking about, But with regards to these 4 points, suffering, suffering, impermanence, impure, and not self. Instead of recognizing and seeing that clearly, right, we take that which is suffering to be pleasurable. We take that which is impermanent to be constant. We take that which is not self to be self. We take that which is impure to be pure. Because of that, that is the definition of samsara. So that is the relative truth. Then within the realm of relative truth, there are varying degrees of relative truth. In all its multiplicity. On one end of that spectrum, it is just completely untrue. In another end of the spectrum, some semblance of truth is there. So Buddha basically taught, like these 2 levels of truth. Surface level, often mixed, by definition, mixed with confusion. Don't see the whole picture, only one aspect. We only see one aspect, we latch on to that aspect, and we say that aspect is it. Buddha says, no, that's not how it is. So because of the importance of expressing things in terms of the 2 truths, helping us to see these 2 truths, as a result, some people say that at the stage of Buddhahood, these 2 truths continue to exist. Here, Gyalpa Rinpoche says, no, at the state of Buddhahood, what was previously, for the sake of confused beings, taught as the 2 truths, no longer exist as the 2 truths. Because in the first place, this 2 truths is a way to get us to see where, under the power of mistake, under the power of mistaken mind, then we need the remedy of seeing things as 2 truths, thinking of things as 2 truths. So that once we are at the Buddha state, these 2 truths don't exist. Now, so Jodra says, all phenomena subsumed under samsara and nirvana are mind. And mind is free from all extremes of proliferation. And so it's very interesting, The commentary begins with almost like you're like, wait, is this really answering the question? So it says all phenomena under samsara and nirvana are mind. And mind is free from extremes of proliferation. So mind in its nature don't have all these distinctions. That which knows don't have all these distinctions. What it knows has all these distinctions. The difference between the knowing mind and what the knowing mind knows. The heart and the activities of the heart. The perfect Buddha is one who has achieved Buddhahood by realizing the nature of samsara and nirvana. Furthermore, since one achieves Buddhahood in the essence of sameness of all phenomena, which is free from extremes and inseparable union, and it is an inseparable union, it is free from all extremes such as the two truths, dhatu and gnosis. These are pairs of things. Two truths, relative, ultimate. Dhatu and gnosis. Dhatu is like the object, the space. Gnosis is the wisdom that knows the object. So now it's like subject-object. Property and property owner, subject-object. Emptiness and dependent origination. Existence and non-existence. So the Buddhahood that we achieve is achieved in a state where these pairs don't exist. Moreover, all the phenomena summarized as these pairs possess the natural characteristic of purity, meaning empty. Meaning they don't stand on themselves, That's the one, in this context, that's what emptiness means. Unless they exist as a pair, they cannot exist. Because they are concepts, And concepts are based on yes and no, here and there. When we say here, right? We can only say here because there's there. Like I said, so you can say Vajra. The fact that we can say Vajra, right, is first and foremost dependent on the fact of there being not Vajra. Yeah. Without not Vajra, how do you distinguish? Oh, this is Vajra. Not possible. So you can see even in this something like that, Something simple like that, like a book. Just this concept of book, The most basic requirement for the existence of this book is the existence of what?
No book.
Not book. Yeah. Not book has to exist. But then, if you look further, right? How can not book exist? Not book can only exist if what?
Book.
Book exists. So they're dependent on each other. Now you are asking something that cannot exist in and of itself to appear at, reality court to testify to the existence of itself and the other that make it exist. It will fail. It's like you are calling the Easter Bunny to go testify to the existence of Santa Claus. Sorry if I just destroyed your cherished myth. You cannot call the Easter Bunny to go testify to the truth and existence of Santa Claus. You can, but only to the degree that Santa Claus can testify to the truth and reality of the Easter Bunny. Therefore, on the stage of Buddhahood, the differentiation into this is relative truth, this is absolute truth, does not exist. So, Chodra quotes from several sources to say that. This is, I think, to me, this what this statement is saying is that the Buddha uses the language of the two truths should not make us then, right, proliferate in speculation that, oh, at the state of Buddhahood, this is how the two truths are, this is how the two truths manifest, this is how the two truths... Certainly there are places where we talk like that, sure, you know. And like so in Sobish's notes, he says, for example, you know, you might talk about how, oh, the Dharmakaya is the aspect of ultimate truth. Then the Rupakaya, the form bodies, which is Nirmanakaya and Sambhogakaya, that pertains to relative truth. Yeah, you can match things up like that, sure. But here Jigten Sumgön is not saying you cannot under any circumstance do this type of matching. But what he is saying, I believe, is that even as you do this kind of matching, maybe to help people appreciate and understand how in a state of confusion, when you recognize the two truths, how you use that as a means of practicing to clear your confusion. And then when the confusion is cleared, if you still want to talk about the two truths, this is how the two truths exist, or so to say, on the level of Buddhahood. But he's saying, sometimes, you know, we get so carried away in making those correspondences that we forget a more important point, which is at the state of Buddha. All these pairs collapse. Meaning we see through, at this point, the limitations of these pairs, the limitations of subject and object, because that is like the key realization at the state of Buddhahood. So how can we still get so fixated on wanting to match all the pairs that we used to be under the power of while in the state of confusion, that even in the state of awakening, we still want to talk about these pairs. So he says, no, they are all beyond this type of subject-object. Elsewhere, certainly, I'm sure, you know, if you look at the 12 volumes of the collected works of Jigten Sumgön, you're going to find him talking about, you know, oh, at the state of Buddha, you know, ultimate truth, relative truth. Yeah. So it's not as if he doesn't say that. But here I really think that the bigger point is that even as that is said, even as you can find in the sutras and tantras that might say, oh, in the state of Buddha, this is relative truth, this is ultimate truth, know that that is merely spoken of for the sake of those who are still in the state of confusion. And don't make the mistake of thinking that at the state of free from confusion, these pairs, relative, ultimate, exist. Because in reality, right, free from confusion, reality is just as it is, you know? Just as it is. But just as it is right now, we can't see. We can't experience. We have no access. Yeah? Second statement, Gnosis. And Gnosis is what we often elsewhere is translated as primordial wisdom. But again, you should know by now, Sobich prefers Gnosis. Gnosis is only non-dual Gnosis. Primordial wisdom is only non-dual primordial wisdom. Right? So you're like, what does that mean? Well, the statement is given in response to, regarding Buddha's primordial wisdom, there are only two views: to hold that they exist, that it exists, or to hold that it does not exist. So again, it's dealing with these like pairs. Exist or don't exist. So there is debate. There was debate then, and maybe even now. Different positions within these great masters. When they are debating, when they are discussing this issue. Some say, like when at the state of Buddha, this thing that we called Buddha wisdom or primordial wisdom, does it really exist or not exist? One position says they don't exist. Why? They say because this Buddha wisdom, it's like when you throw a bucket of water into some fire, and the water destroys the fire, and the fire eats up the water, and both are gone. So the fire will be the fire of confusion. The wisdom will be the water of wisdom. You throw that into the fire, then everything is gone. Then no need fire, no need water. So they say Buddha wisdom is like that. Once you have become Buddha, the wisdom also gone. But others say, oh, no. Wisdom definitely exists. Buddha wisdom. If Buddha wisdom did not exist, then it's all just a blank. How can that be? Right? So these are like the two positions. Now, if we say you can only accept one or the other, no third choice, right? Then you could say, then Jigten Sumgön's position is closer to the expression that Buddha Gnosis exists. For Buddhas, even for Buddhas, Buddha Gnosis exists. If we say there are only two, that you cannot choose a third. So between those who say at the state of Buddha, Buddha Gnosis don't exist. And more than that, even they will say Buddha qualities don't exist. Buddha qualities merely exist as necessary things that you use to destroy, to clear out confusion, all the various types of confusions. Once the confusions are cleared out, then that which you use to clear, it's also gone, finished. The other way of thinking says, no. Buddha qualities are innate. We've talked about this a lot, right? You should know. Gyoba Rinpoche says, no, Buddha qualities are naturally there. So between these two positions, if there were only two positions, then we will say, well, Gyoba Rinpoche would be closer to the side that says Buddha Gnosis exists. But here, in this situation, there is the third position, and it's the third position that Gyoba Rinpoche takes, which is it's non-dual. Therefore, don't get caught up in talking about exist or don't exist. Again, here, like you might say, that's just like, you're just playing with words. You're just playing with words, right? But again, it's not. It's not like he's playing with words. It's like, it's like there is reason and usefulness to talk about how you do not say Buddha wisdom exists, because why in different places in sutras, tantras, in the commentaries, sometimes you come across statements like even Buddha wisdom doesn't exist. So in Heart Sutra, for example, no, 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 right? Now the reason why Buddha taught like that is he's saying even something as profound as Buddha wisdom should not be an object of grasping. How much more all the mundane things that we grasp. Then in places where the Buddha seemed to say, oh, in the state of Buddha, in the natural state, there are these qualities, these qualities, these qualities, these qualities. Why did the Buddha teach like that? Because he also doesn't want us to think that the state of Buddha is just a state of blankness, a state of nothing whatsoever is going on, because that would be nihilistic. But whether Buddha speaks this way or this way, know that insofar as Buddha wisdom is concerned, is non-dual. It is neither this nor that. So same point, it's elaborating on the first statement. So if you look at the commentary by Chodra, at the end of the commentary, it says, it quotes the Bodhisattva. The absolute is beyond the sphere of the proliferating mind. The proliferating mind is held to be surface level truth. So all the concepts of the mind, Buddha wisdom this, Buddha wisdom that, it is this, it is not that, all that is just surface level truth. When it comes to the ultimate, the absolute truth is beyond this. So then, furthermore, he says the term only in the statement Gnosis is only non-dual Gnosis is a word of emphasis, as in absolute primordial wisdom is only, as an emphasis, it is the absence of all extremes such as existence and non-existence, and it is only profound, only luminous, not only as in merely, but only in the sense of it's nothing else. It's nothing else but the profound, the luminous, the non-dual, the absolute Mahamudra, beyond proliferating mind. But it never exists on the part of confused mind. Meaning confused mind cannot fathom, cannot touch this primordial wisdom. In Sobish's notes, at the end of his notes, he says, Jigten Sumgun, regarding the existence or non-existence of this Gnosis in Buddhas, Jigten Sumgun said, the Gnosis of ultimate omniscience is beyond the extremes of the proliferation of existence and non-existence. unquote. The opinion that Gnosis exists or does not exist is only the activity of the proliferating mind, whereas Buddha Gnosis is beyond such a mind. And often, right, whenever Kyopa Rinpoche says this, where he is wanting students to go is, he says, you have to realize this. No point debating this. Yeah, you can spend a lot of time pouring through all the sutras and tantras. Especially in the 12th century, it's not so easy. Even trying to find a copy of this or that sutra or tantra, often, the complete collection of sutras and tantras and commentaries is not available. There are incomplete sets of these things. Here, there. So even if you can physically locate everything, in order to go through all of it, it'll take forever. So in part, Kyopa Rinpoche is saying, don't spend your time, pouring through all these texts to prove your point. Oh, it exists. Or spend time pouring through all this and go, oh, it doesn't exist. He says, because all of this is still in this realm of yes and no. He says, you're better off going to tame your monkey mind. Remove afflictive emotions. Then that which is. To me, this is what these two statements are saying. What is. You don't need to worry about it. Why talk about it so much here? Oh, it is this way, it is that way, it is this way, that way. No. Go apply the path. Give up afflictive emotions. Watch out for the traps. Abandon the faults. Then what is. In page 636, for those of you with the physical book, Chodra and early commentaries, Dorshema, points out like 5 ways in which people can be led astray, because too much conceptualizing, too much philosophizing. So he says the nihilism of the prasangika madhyamaka, emptiness and peace, which is characterized as extensive nihilism. The nihilism of breaking down of the Shravakas, where according to the Vaibhashika view, absolute truth is a negation through being broken down by analysis and into the finest particles. Breaking down meaning, in the Vaibhashika tradition, they just keep splitting. Keep like breaking down. Oh, table? What is table? Oh, table is a surface with 4 legs. Oh, surface? What is surface? Surface is the surface of the surface, then there is the inside of the surface, and then there is more inside. Oh, what is that? And they keep breaking down until nothing else to break. They say, aha, that is emptiness. Oh, that is the ultimate. Then there is the nihilism of death of the non-Buddhist nihilists. And these are specifically materialists, basically, that says, what is emptiness? Emptiness is when you die. When you die, finish, kaput, all gone. Nothing else. That's another type of nihilism. Then he says there's the nihilism of ordinary, mentally fabricated emptiness. And so this is the ordinary emptiness, which is, like I said, right now in this room, is empty of elves. or empty of an elephant. So again, emptiness is not this kind of emptiness. Then the fifth one is called the primordial invertebrate nihilism of great perfection. A view according to which phenomena are empty from the very beginning, when in truth they are empty due to cause and result. So here, this one, right, there is a certain interpretation within certain great perfection Dzogchen traditions that emphasizes so much this expression, empty from the very beginning. This has some similarity to what in China is called Taoism, which also uses the vocabulary of emptiness, but they think of this emptiness as somehow like a mysterious source that gives rise to things. Yeah? Like a metaphysical substance called the great emptiness. And then from there, things appear. So sometimes even in the Tantras, it has that expression. But here is saying that, no, what you need to really understand about such expressions is, it is not talking about some kind of metaphysical, mystical substance called nothingness that gives rise to somethingness that then produces the whole world. But rather, what we should pay attention to whenever there's expressions like this is how cause and effect gives rise to things, rather than some mysterious, mystical energy giving rise to things. But the cause and effect, karmic choices. Here to me, it's like the Buddha's fundamental, and Kyopa Rinpoche is emphasizing this, is don't veer off into philosophical or mystical or metaphysical speculations. It goes back to Buddha's refusal to use the expression of spirit or Atman to talk about the path. He says, this talk about spirit, this talk about Atman, this talk about divine self, it's so abstract. It's speculative. That's why those Buddhist traditions that don't accept Buddha nature, they I think maybe correctly, they say, this is too speculative, the way you guys talk about Buddha nature, you've turned it into something like very magical, very mystical. Oh, Buddha nature this, oh, Buddha nature that. But Buddha's basic approach is to say, look at this, look at this. What is this? Body, mind. What is body? A body is bundles of physical processes going on. What is mind? Mind is not one thing either. It's bundles of mental, emotional processes that are going on. And these two sets of processes are constantly going on. Can you see the momentariness of all experiences? More importantly, can you see how illusory, how temporary the sense of self is? That the sense of self that you and I have is strong because of habit. Because of habit and because of confusion. And arising out of this habit of confusion is then bundles of suffering that we don't know what to do with. When it's in fact nothing in particular. To me, often driving on the highway or something, it's like I see these analogies of the nature of confusion. It seems to happen when you're late, Whenever you're late, you're like stuck in the traffic. Somehow, whenever you're late, everything slows down, right? Then you think, oh, some ridiculous accident is up there. Then when you inch until you go up there, you're like, wait, what's the problem? Yeah, of course, sometimes there is a real accident, but there's also times, when there's like nothing. But because somebody up there 10 minutes ago slowed down because they were looking at something. Then the next car slows down, then the next car slows down, then the next car slows down. Then suddenly, as if there is a problem up there, when in fact it's a moment of lack of awareness, a moment of distraction, causes a jam all the way down. And when you get there, you're like, oh, nothing in particular is going on. But somehow the causes and conditions have brought about a slowing down. Then sometimes on the basis of the causes and condition, there is nothing in particular that slowed down everything. Then someone adds to that, right? Meaning, oh, let me check my text messages. And kapang, knocked the car in front. And now there is a real accident. This is how, So the Buddha wants us to train our mind by looking at this and not speculate about, oh, there is spirit, there is divine self. It says all that is, you're encouraging more levels of speculation and hypothesis and, and he says that doesn't lead to clarity. So I think like, New Age people, they don't like Buddhism. It's so boring to them, they say, They say, what? It's just looking at all these mundane things? I want the spirit travel, astral projection. I want this, I want that. I want to talk to animals. I want to talk to plants. But this way is seeing clearly right here, right now. Actually, in Buddha's plan, so to say, or program, when you see right here, right now clearly, you can start talking to animals and plants. And because when you have overcome that veil of confusion, then possibilities arise. Then depending on the need, depending on the situation, your ability to do these things can be beneficial or helpful. But prior to removing this veil, if you chase after these types of magical occurrences, then you'll get misled. Questions? Comments? Yeah, so again, generally, the statements found in this chapter, they're a little bit hard, I think, to, it gets very technical, some of this. And my lack of, familiarity with the technical details is also an impediment to helping you appreciate more what is in this chapter. But I'll try my best. The key underlying point, I think, in this chapter is don't use our subject-object argumentative, confused mind. Don't use it without understanding its limits. It's not saying don't use it. I would say it's like don't use it without understanding its limitations. Then we can get something out of any talk about what Buddhahood is or is not. So today we will stop here, and as I say, we will also meet on Wednesday, Wednesday morning, so that we can get this chapter done, and then after that maybe some review if we have more time. But let's just see. And more, I think now also Mexico daylight savings time has started. So then some of you, like time to go to work and all of that. So in some ways, hopefully, our COVID imposed retreat might be over soon. So before too many of us get pulled in other directions, we should aspire to finish chapter 7. Changju Semcho Rinpoche Magye Banam Ge Gyurje Ge Ba Nyam Pa Me Pa Yang Gong Ne Gong Du Bel War Sho. Okay, ta-ta. Happy Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias. Adiós.
Yeah.